Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it's that time of the year. I need to do the summer garden tour where I go through each garden bed and I show you exactly what has survived at least up to this point and what I've planted. Like a total inventory of what's in there. And we're going to start with the front yard garden bed. If you look at last year's video, you can see I labeled it the same. You can see the differences as you go through. And the reason why I'm showing you the sky is to show you that it's not really late at night when I'm doing this. It's just one of those stormy times in North Texas we get all the time. It's one of my favorite times. I love to come out here and hang out whenever storms are approaching. So let's start over here with the pot garden. Okay, so what you see back here in all these pots is pretty much all curry. Not pretty much, it is all curry. So used in Indian cuisine quite a bit. A delicious herb. I have probably, I don't know, too many pots. I won't be able to keep this many, and eventually I'll have to sell some of these curry. But until then, I'm taking care of them. Now what you see right here is muscadine grape, a gift from my late father. And I do need to probably get in here and trellis this so it can get more sun. But I've been growing it for a few years. This pot is the only surviving wild violet, edible violet that I have. I had it in the ground in several places and it eventually died off. It'll last for a couple of seasons, but I haven't been able to get it to last completely. So I took the last sample that I had and potted it up, and that's what you see there. In these pots I have red cedar from Arkansas, another gift from my late father that I'm keeping alive, kind of like a living museum. Now, over here you see there's absolutely nothing growing, and to the left, what you see is sorrel, French sorrel. I want to say it's Blanc de Lion is the variety. You can look at my past videos to make sure I got that correct. I'm pretty sure it is. But I had one growing over here and it eventually died off. I've tried to grow a few things in that spot and everything I try to grow there seems to die. So I'll take you over here. These little seed heads you see, and I've got bunches of them around, are actually wild onion, native wild onion. So what you see here is native wild onion. I've showed this in several of my videos before. Easy to grow. It just appeared here on the property. Actually, it didn't appear here. It was here when I got here. And I basically have helped it and spread it around by spreading the seeds and even digging some of the roots up and taking them to other locations so they can grow. But I have another variety of native wild onion. There's like 14 or so varieties in Texas that appeared on my property this year. And when I finally get to that garden bed, I'll show you if it's still around. It's probably gone by now. This pot here is a hickory. It's the only one I have. It's shagbark hickory. And I'm trying to keep it alive until I can find a place to plant it. I'll get to that in another video probably when I go through some of the other garden beds. My chiltepins from past videos did not fare so well this year. I think I only have one or two alive. This is one of them in a pot, and it is not doing well. So what I found is that putting them in full sun, they don't seem to like it here. And when I moved them to shade, some of them came back. We have more curry, but they're on the death list. I'm really not trying very hard to take care of them. And if they live, then maybe I'll grow them. Like if you see here, you can see this one isn't doing so well, but that one's doing much better. So I'll probably pot this one up. But like I said, I can only keep so much curry. And the reason why is because in the winter they must come inside. You cannot leave them outside, and even a greenhouse may not be sufficient. So I only have so much floor space for bringing them inside. And this is another one of the chiltepins. Hope I didn't misspeak earlier when I was pointing out that guy. That is a chiltepin as well. And you can see it's not doing very well. It died off, and I don't see any sprout back. We have wild strawberry and more chiltepins. Again, not doing very well. Not growing back. But we'll see. I hold out hope. And of course, in these pots, we have some potted up curry. See, it's doing various levels of success with this. But overall, they're doing pretty good. And this is something that I had. This here is native wild blackberry. And it is now in the ground. So one thing I did is I potted up some native wild blackberry that my late father gave me. And I've set the pot down, okay? And then it will send out a runner, and that runner will touch the ground and it will root from there, kind of like ground layering. And that's what I did here. And I've done that in various spots in the yard to kind of spread it around. Okay. These are various starts that I've had some more domesticated crops. You know, you got tree collard and some oregano and some other crops that I just haven't found space in the ground to place them, but I haven't quite given up on them yet. So eventually I'll probably put them in the ground. And all of these pots you see here are chili pekin. Varying levels of success. I really need to pot them up and get them out of here, but they're already producing fruit, you can see. Some debate on my other chili pekin video as to whether or not I have chiltepins or chili pekin. I assure you these are chili pekin. You can tell, if you couldn't see in that video, even the immature fruit are ovate, which is a dead giveaway. Okay, so the rest here, let's see, take a look at this. I used to have one giant rosemary bush that covered this whole area, and I ground layered it. So I've got a little bit here and a little bit of rosemary here. But the main bush died. So I've removed all of the dead limbs from that bush, and I planted a few crops. I've tried several things in here, but it's very, very dry. It needs some heavy soil improvement, but a few things did take hold. And just to let you know what I've tried beets, I've tried turnips, watermelon, Georgia collard, carrots. So, you know, you'll see what survived out of all that experimentation. We have a Desert King watermelon. It's not very large for June, but it's alive. And the way I'm doing it this year, I mentioned in some of my past videos that I'm scaling back my operation. So I'm mostly growing just for seed. But if I can get more than that, that'd be great. And then here we have a Swiss chard. And in the back, you see we have a very small southern, or a Georgia collard, as I've seen it called. One of the only chiltepins, not one of the only chiltepin that I have in the ground, and it's doing better than the ones in the pots, as you can tell. So let's hope that I at least get some seeds from that so I can propagate it. And another Georgia collard. Now this year, for some reason, I was inundated with worms.
I got worms.
Cabbage worms, just destroying my crops. But it survived the onslaught, and I hope to get some bud back from that. And more Georgia collard, and more Georgia collard. And let's see, I actually do have some beet right here, and some turnip still holding on. It'll probably, if it makes it through the summer, then it'll probably do much better in the fall, which is typically what I see. And I have not done any supplemental irrigation yet. So what you're seeing is what you would get if you don't do any supplemental irrigation in this area. This is a partially shaded spot. I got a black carrot, a black nebula carrot, which is doing quite well here, you can see. And another collard that got just chewed up. But you can see in the center of that green, it's budding back. There's enough starch that it might just make it. Oh yeah, and another beet in the ground. I have some chives that decided to spread themselves here. I didn't do this. And the, see here in the pot, we have a cultivated strawberry doing quite well. And again, like the blackberry, I've potted this guy up and moved him around the yard. And the strawberries will send out runners, and those runners will touch the ground and then root. Once they root, snip the runner, and now I've got it in the ground. And I just keep doing that to propagate it. So I've got this the same variety of strawberry, this cultivated strawberry. I believe it's Elon is the variety. And it seems to do pretty well here, and it survives the cold temperatures like no other. And as I've already pointed out, the rosemary. That brings us to the last part of the front yard garden bed. What I would call the sunchoke bed. It's pretty much all of these plants you see in here. I'll get an up close shot. These are sunchokes, also known as Jerusalem artichokes. They make a very large tuber, which is delicious. I usually just leave them in the ground until I'm ready to harvest them in the late fall, early winter. You can harvest them over the winter if you leave them in the ground. Let's see here. So I have the Jerusalem artichokes, the sunchokes, planted in the back. And I basically have dug that out and made a berm here in the front. And in this berm, I have wild strawberry, which is just spread like wildfire. And I have a peppermint holding on for dear life. And I have a basil in there and some more peppermint. And of course, this big guy is oregano. Very, very delicious oregano. Very, very pungent. When it grows in this climate, there's something about the cross timbers. When you grow herbs, they're just extremely strong. If you come out in the cross timbers during a rain, you can almost smell the herbs, the native herbs in the air. And it somehow, at least in my opinion, seems to transfer to any domesticated herbs you grow. And then along the front, I've got cilantro, and you're gonna see more of this cilantro, by the way. I have it growing all over the yard. Prairie tea. This is a native edible. You can make a tea out of it, and it's not really terrible. It's actually pretty delicious, I think. And roses, okay? Which helps bring in the pollinators, and if you're ever trying to do a nursery operation, one of the easiest ways to make money is cut flowers. So we've got roses down the front, and it does provide a little bit of shade. And I've mentioned this in some of my past videos. Shade seems to be the secret to growing in the cross timbers. On the outer berm here, I have some lemon balm. And it's growing mixed in kind of with the oregano. And we have comfrey, Bocking 14 comfrey, so it's not going to go invasive. I have that Bocking 14 all over the yard. And that pretty much covers the front yard garden bed. There is one thing I'm going to mention. Mixed in with the sunchokes, I have native sunflower. I have multiple species of native sunflower here. Here's another one here. And if you look at the leaves, you see it's kind of a heart shape. Here in the back especially, you can see how it lobes back towards the stem. But when you look at the sunchoke, you'll see that you don't have that. It comes straight out this way instead of lobing back inward towards the stem. So I have a couple of those mixed in, and I do believe I've read somewhere, here's one right here. I do believe I've read somewhere that they actually can hybridize. So I'll probably be cutting the native sunflowers, you know, if they produce flowers, I'll be cutting those flowers off to make sure they don't hybridize with my sunchokes. But that would be interesting to see what you would get if you hybridize a native sunflower with a sunchoke. So I think that covers all of the crops that I have. I guess there is one I missed, a tomato growing here. It seems to be doing pretty well. Again, no supplemental water whatsoever. So it seems to be doing pretty well here in this front yard garden bed. And now we are starting to get with the sunset. So I'll let you go here. So this is the kickoff of series. I'll be doing every garden bed in my yard just like I did last year. It's going to be about 12 videos so you guys can see the difference.